Okay, we are live. So, hi everyone. Today is the regular platform special interest group meeting. We have several contributors on the call. We have Adrian, Baptiste, David, Mark, and me. So, yeah, we have some topics in the agenda to discuss, but I don't think we have anything specific for today because we had summertime changes, so the meetings got disrupted a bit. Okay, I'll just share my screen. Do you see it? Okay, so yeah, I just opened the agenda for today. We had proposal from Alex to discuss next step with Windows installer because he has the version of installer in the branch and we integrated into the Jenkins CI packaging at some point so that it becomes official installer. But we need Alex on the call to discuss that, and we don't have Alex because we had time zone issues. So I think that the best way for us would be to just schedule a separate meeting with Alex because it's an important topic and maybe we do not want to work for the next week.
Oleg, you seem to have an issue with your mic, or if it's only me, but something like you're going away and back and away and back.
Yeah, I probably need a better platform to run platform-sig meetings.
Okay. Well, you're the one making us able to represent many OSs.
Okay, is it better now?
Hard to say because it was varying, but I think so.
Okay, let's hope it's good enough. So yeah, for this item, I just proposed to postpone it. And maybe somebody could start a doodle or whatever to find an optimal meeting time with Alex.
Yeah. You're still temporarily from time to time looking like a robot, but that's fine. So let's just put an item on someone like Adrien or myself to create a doodle indeed with Alex to sync up about that indeed. Because it would be indeed nice that we can do that before next Thursday, where is our usual meeting.
Okay, does it work for you? Okay, and I guess a related topic is about moving regular meeting time. Apparently, we have the most of the contributors in countries with summertime change. So yeah, maybe we want to change the date at least starting from the next week, so that it's not that stressful for all contributors. Yeah, I just have the meeting calendar open. So now all Jenkins meetings are scheduled in UTC. So this is, for example, 2 p.m. UTC now. So yeah, for Europe, it will also be another time starting from the next week. So yeah, I think it's a good time to start Doodle so that we reconsider the time if other people want to change it. And yeah, I can take this action item on me. Okay. So what else do we have? We have a number of open action items. I suspect we can just copy and paste this list. Does anyone have updates for these topics?
I do not. You're correct that just copying the list is what we need. I thought that Alex's request for project ownership was granted a while ago. But again, it's safest probably to leave it there with the question mark and let him report on it himself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the code signing topic, I don't know what the progress there is with. We are now part of CDF, and so we have a legal entity that should be able to request that. but I don't know what the process is to do that. I don't know how the Jenkins project actually connects to use the newfound power with CDF. Do we have any guidance from them?
No, CDF is yet to be formed. At least it's
Okay.
my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, I don't expect really things to be internally changing. Anyway, we're supposed to be autonomous inside CDF, so I don't expect a lot of changes soon anyway, right?
Okay. Yeah, so other topics don't really rely on CDF, maybe project ownership, but yeah, I believe we still retain individual ownership. So yeah, when you have a meeting with Alex, maybe it makes sense to clarify this topic as well.
Yeah. Can we maybe like separate or like not I'm being picky here or like asking for much, separating things that we would cover with Alex separately because we make sure that the windows things are clearly and easily findable in the action items so that we can address them in the meetings where we are considering.
Okay. I think so. Yeah, we can just create agenda for the new meeting then.
Thank you. I think nothing complex just yet. Right. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's quality status, and I will just move it here. Windows installers, next steps. Okay, so something like that. Anything else to it there?
I am moving the postpone one, I guess, the action item. Or I don't know if I should leave there, but anyway. That's fine. I'm going to leave that there.
Okay.
Well, at the same time, let's centralize everything. Don't worry about me. Just go to the next one.
Yeah, right. So for that, we have a related thread about trying out CentOS. So I guess we could just introduce it at some point as an additional packaging. But yeah, generally we still need to decide how we make decisions about it.
Mm-mm.
Well, and I assume we want to have those discussions in the context of that JEP. So that makes that JEP that much more valuable to get submitted quickly here rather than me just letting it languish in the action items.
Yeah.
Are there guiding principles that people on this call would like to suggest be included in the JEP that I should, be sure I say this or say that?
I'm not sure about that. So it would be nice to just start drafting
Okay.
the things. For example, understand which platforms we want to have as must-have, and how one would add additional platform. So, for example, it's not a question for us whether we want to add, for example, Windows containers or something like that. It's a question for somebody else. Yeah, if I, as a contributor, want to add Windows container to Jenkins official images, how would I approach that, and what would be the criteria? So it would map, for example, the current work being done by Durgadas and other examples we had.
Right. If I wanted an ARM port or a Series 390 or whatever, yeah, I like that. Thanks. So this JEP is about the decision process and the selection rules, not about recommending any specific decision itself. Got it.
Yeah, I think so, because, well, to recommend something, firstly, it's about platform neutrality for Jenkins. Second, yeah, we need to do a serious research.
Mhm.
Okay, anything else about this topic? Yeah, not from me as well. Okay, so what else do we have? So we have a topic to discuss the plugin installation manager proposal. We had one student interested in that, and we are waiting for the student to come back to us and to join this meeting. So just a second, I believe it was discussed. Yeah, it's him. So here's the pending proposal draft. Unfortunately, this draft is not open for comments, I believe. Oh, no. Now it supports comments. So yeah, so here's a proposal. Yeah, we are waiting for Natasha to join the call, but yeah, if somebody is interested, we can just review it together. So yeah, there is not that much content so far because, well, deliverable section, it's still, yeah, it's still empty. So I believe we need to Natasha to join the call so that we can discuss these sections. Same for benefits, it's just the beginning. But yeah, let's see. Okay, yeah, so Natasha said she will join at something like 3:30, so we have 10 minutes till ETA. How would we approach that? I can just run a separate meeting. So for example, with me, Baptiste, and anybody else who's interested to join, or we can, yeah, I believe that separate meeting would be useful. So when she comes online, I will just start another meeting. That's it. And we can close this recording.
Oh, I see. Okay, so the idea is our topics are generally done. No need, no justification to just sit and talk. Got it. Yeah, that'd be fine.
I'm happy to chat with you guys for another 10 minutes, but yeah, I believe that everybody has some topics to do.
Okay.
And yeah, if you have anything to discuss for platform-sig meeting, for example, Java 11 status or Docker packaging or whatever, we can spend this time on that. If no, yeah, we can just proceed to something else.
So there actually was a question yesterday that having Baptiste and Oleg in the same space might be a real help on Java 11. There was mention of a question, hey, which plugins have known problems with Java 11? And I went looking and I found no list other than a performance Dynatrace, which we had a Jaxby fix for. So as far as I could tell, the answer was there isn't any known plugin which has specific problems with Java 11.
This is, I would say, correct, because the only issue there's not no issue at all. There's that one, indeed, that's been reported on the issue tracker. We didn't look at it yet deeply, so we need to double check why it's still failing despite having still the Jaxby API plugin that's supposed to solve that issue. But it's the only place where we've seen that surfacing. So, and that plugin is, as far as I remember, using a retrofit tool, which is a tool to expose REST API, so something maybe deep on class loading or whatever. But yeah, we don't really know about that. That doesn't mean that there's no issue, but as people may know, or we have 1,500 plugins, 600 now. So it could very well be that we have a few plugins failing, but our testing with the suggested plugins in the wizard and installed plugins that are installed, let's say, more than 1,000 times, which is already quite less than the average. We didn't really see anything blocking surfacing. For instance, there was the slock count plugin that was failing, that was proved to be fixed by the Jaxby API plugin. So,
yeah, speaking of that, I will just close the issue.
About what?
So there is open issue for that. publish fails on Java 11 without any
Right.
module.
Yeah, right. Maybe we didn't clean up the existing thing that should be closed indeed. So
Yeah,
exactly, and so I wanted to say last thing. Yeah, so about that, there's two pages on the wiki, Mark, and anybody watching. There's a Java developer guidelines and a Java 11 compatibility something. I don't remember the name exactly, but you should be able to find it through Google if you
yeah,
because that's how I do it all the time. And so basically, there's the and also on the issue tracker, there's a Java 11 dash compatibility label that should be allowing you to find the issues around that. And we probably have a few issues in the tooling, but nothing really surfacing as far as I remember in the plugins per se. So apart
yeah.
from again the performance, the site signatures, Dynatrace plugin.
Just to add some context to that, actually, we do have some compatibility issues we know about. For example, RVM plugin. I mean, Ruby Virtual Machine 1.
Right.
So yeah, this is just ETH failing, but yeah, there was some spot check conducted by Oliver, and he says that well, actually, this plugin just doesn't work with Java 11, which is not that much a surprise.
Yeah, right. So indeed, I was assuming too many things here. That's right. So apart from the thing we already know and documented publicly, even when we were releasing the blog entries and the Java 11 preview, I think we already said there that the Ruby runtime based plugins were already known to be problematic. But apart from those things that are already known about since like 1 year, we don't really know something that surfaced in the last month or something. That's where my meaning indeed. You're right.
Yeah, would you be fine if I remove Java 11 compatibility label for such from such things? So as long as they do not really cause breakages.
That's a good point. I don't know. Don't really know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, my preference would be to remove Java 11 compatibility issue because well, it doesn't really cause any compatibility issues as long as you have JaxB plugin installed. And JaxB
it
plugin
shouldn't.
should be.
Right. But
Yeah,
for
so
instance, we know that in the case of the performance Dynatrace signature plugin, despite that plugin again in the class path or in the module path or whatever how we call it in the dependency tree
yeah,
of Jenkins behavior, it seems to still cause an issue. So yeah, so for people watching, did file a lot of many issues basically, even if we know that that plugin should fix that issue, basically just asking plugin maintainers when they actually weren't relying on Jaxb core features to just remove using Jaxb. For instance, we have a lot of cases that have been fixed already. Just using the Jaxb data type converter API. That's just people using Jaxb API for converting to base 64, basically. So that's kind of a waste for that dragging that API for just that, basically.
yeah. I'm dragging and dropping tickets right now, but yeah, this is the Epic Baptiste was talking about. So yeah, there is a number of tickets. The most of them are in review, and I guess the most of them are really blocked by the lack of maintainers and the plugins.
Exactly. And most of
And
them, if not all, are tagged newbie friendly.
Yeah. So there
so,
was a
so,
hackathon at FOSDEM, and yeah, I believe it was one of the topics there.
Yep. Mark?
so just to reinforce, you've said that in general we have very few Java 11 issues. That's great news. Okay, I'm as proud as I can be of the Java 11 work. That is so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yeah, we don't want to brag too much about that because, well, anything could be surfacing in the next days. So we don't want to say everything is perfect. But yeah, we are still internally finalizing tests, checking acceptance test harnesses run, but we didn't see things really outstanding. That would be like, okay, with no idea how to fix that, blah blah blah, or most like if not all things that we've been seeing failing plugins are basically JaxB related. So, but yeah, I don't want to brag about that basically, but it seems
Yeah.
good.
Okay. But yeah, the most of the issues are really fixed. Yeah. So yeah, there are some minor ones, and I see that some of them have been submitted by Mark Wade. So yeah, for example, some pipeline jobs fail after restart on Java 11 server. So has it been already triaged?
It has and resolved. It's done. Yeah.
Should we close it then?
Yeah, there's this one, as far as I'm concerned, is resolved. Devin already fixed it in the 3.0. I don't know if he's leaving it open. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it is resolved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll just close it.
All right.
So that yeah, we just have less issues in public.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure why a transition doesn't work properly here.
Oh, actually, and I remember that one. I may go back on that one and reopen. That one is not Java 11 specific. I can see the same failure in Java 8, and it's intermittent. I have no clean reproduction case, so closing it is the right thing to do simply because I can't duplicate it consistently.
Okay.
If I get to the point someday where I can duplicate it, I will certainly reopen it and put good instructions in it. It seemed to require high memory stress or all sorts of different conditions.
Right. Yeah, thank you. We also have this ticket open, release candidate testing, run ETH of Jenkins work with Java 11. I believe it was completed. So I'm not sure why it's still in review.
Yeah, then we should close it.
Yeah.
So ATH, I'm impressed. ATH has been quite helpful in the Java 11 bug problem detection field. Is that the general observation is that, hey, it's actually helped us find real bugs and identify plugins that have had real problems. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. At least for people watching. So, ATH is using Selenium, and Selenium is a functional testing framework. So basically, it's behaving like a physical user would be clicking on the things and checking the UI reacts as we expect. And we didn't, as far as I remember, really discovered anything really failing. So. ATH didn't help us discover issues, but at the same time, it kind of still is important because it also showed us that we didn't find any issues. So that's still showing that Jenkins, from a user standpoint, is still behaving as we expect. So yeah, ATH was critical in our confidence that things are still working like before, basically.
Excellent. Thank you.
And we also used a lot of the so-called plugin compatibility transform tester, for instance, framework to test a lot of plugins. It's a bit more cumbersome it's different, let's say, to test, but yeah, we've been fixing a lot of things around that to make sure things are really looking good. And we've even fixed file things into various plugins that wouldn't be strictly required because we didn't see things surfacing from the UI from the user's perspective, but we wanted to make sure like do the last the extra miles or make sure things would likely be going well.
Okay, anyway, it looks good. All important issues have been closed. So yeah, I think that we can just keep it as is, or maybe we should actually. Yeah, it would make sense to slightly clean up the filter because there is a lot of things which actually do not impact users. But yeah, I think that overall it's still a good state. Yeah. So yeah, we will need to clean up it a bit eventually, but I think it's fine. This one is. Okay, so it's 30 minutes. I believe we definitely killed some time. But yeah, Natasha is still not here. LED. I'm just checking the chat. Okay, do we need to discuss anything else if Natasha doesn't join? I don't have much topics from my side.
Neither do I. Adrien, maybe something? David, Mark?
No, nothing from me.
Me.
Thanks very much.
Okay.
Yeah, the main focus right now is finalizing basically ATH, Java 11 from the platform-sig focus on my side at least. And
Now,
Adrien,
I may be hoisting a question to the bigger infrastructure group because the Java 11 addition to plugins is actually going to increase our demands on infrastructure, right? We're now effectively doubling the test compute capacity that we need every time we add Java 11 support. And there
Usually
have
we
been,
triple it
oh,
because in addition to testing for Java 11 on the recent LTS, we also had testing on Java 8 against the recent LTS.
and many of the plugins weren't doing that. Because I know the Git plugin, for instance, was testing LTS and its required version, but nonetheless, we've got an. So I guess this is a question to the infra team. I'll bring it up with Olivier or somebody like that. That hey, we're going to use more compute.
yeah. So maybe that makes me think about that. Maybe we should actually spend some time because I said we would and we didn't. There was for people watching, we had an infra thread like 2 weeks ago, initiated by Tyler, because he was playing with basically way to run containers for the workload. And instead of VM, it would start in say a few seconds, even if not less, in compared to minutes, basically. So probably, and I think it was also way, way, way cheaper. So maybe that would be kind of mitigating that issue because while still having a high coverage or high continuous, because well, yeah, we are testing a lot more things, and it's more expensive, it's more consuming time, so obviously, so that's always, there's no thing that's only has pros. So probably we could just make a task or something, dedicate some time to make sure we test that thing, test the compatibility, test the stability, basically, so that we mitigate that kind of cost issue that's well, maybe also at the same time, CDF is going to make that a non-issue, but at least if it's also lowering the number, the time required to build things, it's still a good thing. So yeah.
Right. It's now Tyler's technique doesn't do Windows. I've got to have Windows, and many of the plugins need Windows. But I think you're right, Baptiste. Let's invest some time in that. I'll see what I can do capacity-wise. Thanks.
Yeah, there is actually an email from Tyler in your inboxes if you follow the infrastructure mailing list, because we still have some money in Asia sponsorship, but with our current trends, it's probably till the end of the year.
You mean the new one or?
Yeah, the new one.
Linux agents are full. Is this the one? Okay, wait.
I'm not sure
just
whether I can show this email, but yeah. Oh, infrastructure mailing list is public.
Yeah, infra is public, I'm pretty sure. So anyway, let's focus still on the infra related subjects, and maybe we can spend a bit of time actually discussing. And now Natasha joined. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thanks.
So it's a bit early for you, I guess.
Yeah, I have a recitation section I run at like 9 Eastern time, so I've been up for a while.
Yeah, I guess Mark is probably beating you anyway. Mark, you're in the center US, so yeah.
Go Rocky Mountains. That's right. Yes. Welcome, Natasha. Great to have you here.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So for people watching, and we explained that at the beginning. Natasha is a GSOC student. She sent a proposal for the plugin installer subject. So yeah, Oleg is going back to presenting, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right. Great.
Yeah, so we have this proposal. Yeah, it's posted on the Jenkins.io website along with several other proposals related to platform special interest group. Yeah, here the topic is about whatever installation and management, specifically Docker packages, which is the most widely used example, and also configuration as code, and some less used things like customer packager, evergreen, etc., etc. So we have a number of implementations of offline plugin management. All the implementations are different. For example, for official Docker images, we don't really install detached plugins automatically, which creates a lot of confusion when we detach a plugin from Jenkins core. For example, it happened with JDK tool. Most likely, it will happen with JaxB for people migrating to Java 11 and other things. And same configuration as code plugin, it's also not ideal in terms of dependency management. So dependency management there used to happen differently from Docker packages. So the idea of this proposal is to actually just have another tool which would easily replace all other tools. Yeah, it might be just another XKCD example with introducing a new standard, but hopefully we could replace this implementation. And that's why the proposal is about having CLI tool and also library so that we can use it in Maven plugins, for example. Okay. I guess it summarizes the project idea. Maybe you, Baptiste, want to add something?
Not really. I talk already too much in general. I'm not going to add much. I think you summarized it well.
Okay, so yeah, probably we could discuss the details and answer questions from Natasha if there are any ones. And then, yeah, if anybody else is interested in this proposal, also feel free to reach out to the platform special interest group.
Yep. So Natasha, if you have questions, we can address them live, and if you have, and if you don't, then it's fine also to use the chat or email for more like ongoing, longer subjects, I guess.
Yeah, I do have a lot of questions. Okay, so some of them are kind of more general, and then some of them are more specific. So, okay, I think the first question I have is so I like read in this description this would help with like versions and tooling, and so can you explain like what you mean, like what the definition of tooling is?
Yeah, so I can show example, for example, for Docker, if you haven't taken a look at it. For example, GitHub, let's say, yeah, not sure. I have a demo for configuration as code, but yeah, what I'm trying to show here is actually example of plugin management. So what we have here, okay, you see my screen right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so here we have a number of files. It's one of Jenkins packaging in Docker. And here it has plugins.txt. So it's a file which says which plugins need to be installed on this Jenkins instance. So you may see that there is a number of plugins with versions. And what happens with this file is that when we build the Docker image here, here we have a command which actually consumes this file and then performs an installation. So here you may see that it's called download and check updates sh, because at some point I tried to implement check updates procedure. But yeah, generally there is a script called install plugins, and it's a part of the official Docker image. Jenkins CI. So, Docker. So Yeah, here you may see that there is a number of scripts and here's install plugins. It's a pretty short script in shell, which actually does the plugin installation. It does the plugin installation during the image build, so that it's formally an offline installation, the one which doesn't run Jenkins on its own. And yeah, then you may see that it does a lot of actions, but generally it just puts all plugins to a specific folder. So there is a folder where all plugins are installed. It resolves the dependencies. It puts the installation, and even now the script is a bit complex. So, for example, when I tried to add updates management, for example, here show the list of available updates and check security warnings, whatever. So yeah, probably it's a cool feature, but yeah, it already caused some concerns about the complexity of the scripts. And it's actually one of the reasons why the task has been created in Jira, because, well, the script is too complex and it would be better if we had a special tool for managing plugins. So this is what the project ID is about.
Right. Okay, so basically by tooling you just mean like kind of like just being able to configure things, I guess, before you start.
Yeah, right. So it would
Okay.
be yeah. Please continue, Baptiste.
Yeah, so Jenkins, so tooling is basically what everything that's, let's say, around Jenkins, because so Jenkins is the thing we really care about, because that's in the end what is really what we are all about here, basically the tool that's an automation server. And there's a lot of things around this that makes that kind of helps run Jenkins in various configurations. And so because Jenkins is like, I don't know now, like 15 years old now, there's a lot of tooling. So that's what we're talking about. A lot of things that have been developed around Jenkins, for instance, to do what Jenkins would be doing by itself inside Jenkins, for instance, to add plugins, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of things around that. And all those things evolved over time, on their own, badly sometimes. And so the goal kind of that project is indeed to try and clean that up and reconcile things around. So yeah, tooling is everything that's helping basically Jenkins development or configuration, basically. Does that help a bit?
Yeah. And then so basically the workflow that this would be used in is you want so it'd be kind of like before you actually like install or start Jenkins, like you want this separate like CLI tool. You run this, you get all of your like plugins and their dependencies put in a folder, and then when you actually go to start Jenkins, it would just like check this folder then. Is that correct? Is that like, I guess what I'm looking for is like what is the workflow and how do you expect this tool to be used?
Yeah, you described it well. So currently Jenkins can start up with plugins in a folder. And yeah, all the tools we listed actually just update this folder.
Yeah,
It
but
may, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm going
Yeah,
to.
it may sound trivial, but yeah, dependency management includes things like resolving broken dependencies. So, for example, like in this example, communicating with Jenkins infrastructure in order to get to understand which plugins contain security issues. And yeah, so although it's just putting plugins to a folder, it's a bit more complicated than that. For example, Jenkins can list plugins which are incompatible, and then there may be special actions required. So there may be a lot of diagnostics added as a part of the installation flow.
Yeah, and we need actually, so as that the proposal describes, we need to have the, because you were talking about the CLI tool, Natasha. There's kind of the CLI tool, and maybe the CLI tools are like are going to be consumers of the same core library that will be needing to be extracted from Jenkins core or something like this, so that we actually reuse the same logic from everywhere. So, for instance, we might want to call that CLI. That will be, calling that library from, say, the Docker image packaging thing. But from Jenkins itself, it's desirable that we actually use the same logic, the same code base, basically. So probably the project would be extracting the dependency management logic from Jenkins itself as a module, probably inside Jenkins, but then reused by external tools, let's say in Go or something, if we can find bindings to call Java code from the Go or whatever. But yeah, or maybe Quarkus.
Okay. Okay. So basically, so the vision on how to change this would be, yeah. So there's kind of, yeah, like there's like two parts. There's kind of this CLI tool and then the library, and then for like I guess, yeah, the library part, being able to kind of create its own like module based on existing logic and add like kind of this new logic and incorporate some of the things from like this like Docker, this bash script that's currently set up for Docker, and include like all of that logic and stuff too. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's perfectly correct. So ideally, what we want to have in Docker is that yeah, we have installed plugins sh, but yeah, once you have once the library and tool is implemented, we just remove all of that, and instead that invoke the tool, and just we will just start bundling it in the distribution, so that we get rid of all this custom logic here if possible, if we can consume this plugins txt format. And it pretty much applies to all other examples we had in the list, because yeah, each example here includes custom logic for updates management and for plugin installation management. Moreover, we could also add to the list that Jenkins core itself also includes plugin installation logic.
Okay.
So yeah, if you want to have something more challenging, yeah, it may be possible to change plugin management logic to the library in Jenkins itself.
Okay. And then I have a couple sort of like more specific questions. So when you're so I've seen a couple references to bundled plugins. What does that mean exactly?
So bundled plugins may mean two things. Here in Jenkins, we have Jenkins Word file. So Word file is a self-executable package which includes a Jenkins core, a number of plugins, and some other configurations. And Jenkins core, Jenkins Word file also include two types of plugins. One type is detached plugins. So it's plugins which originally used to be a part of the Jenkins core. So it should be somewhere here. I don't recall.
Dash plugins.
Oh yeah, split. Yeah, I was looking for that. So yeah, split plugins. So split plugins is the first type of plugins. So these plugins have been removed from Jenkins core because we were detaching logic in order to introduce separate release cycle. Or for some cases like CVS, it just didn't make much sense to keep it in the core. So you may see that it was detached long ago. So all these plugins are still bundled into Jenkins Word file, and they extract it on demand. So these plugins are bundled. Another use case for bundling plugins is when you want to produce your custom Word file on the top of Jenkins. For example, there is a tool called Custom Word Packager, and this custom Word Packager tool, it can bundle plugins and produce a Word file which is also ready for execution. So, for example, here we can add a demo, open a demo. For example, external logging Elasticsearch. So what this demo does, it includes a number of plugins and configurations which are needed to set up logging from Jenkins to Elasticsearch. And here you may see that there is a number of plugins included here. So for example, pipeline, durable task, CM API. And if you scroll, you may also discover plugins like Logstash, which are required for this demo. So these plugins, so here we have a definition. You may see that some plugins come from versions, some plugins come from commit, because when this demo was created, we were relying on non-released patches. And then custom word packager takes this definition and creates a single word file, which includes all these plugins. And these plugins are also bundled.
Okay.
So yeah, this bundle, firstly, it's useful for Jenkins user itself, because they can create these plugin bundles. Another use case is test automation, because we also want to perform integration testing of components. And there are flows like, for example, here there is essentials test Groovy, which effectively uses custom word packager in order to prepare a bundled definition for a plugin in order to run acceptance test harness and plugin compatibility tester. These are two main test frameworks we use. They use this custom bundle with prepared plugins so that they edit into the equation when we perform testing. So this is a separate use case we widely use for bundled plugins.
Okay. And then what is a transitive plugin dependency?
Okay. Before we get to that, so we have
Yeah.
a number of people on the call, and
Oh, yeah, sure.
Baptiste said in private channel. So if
Okay.
somebody doesn't want to wait, please feel free to drop. And we also got Alex on the call. So yeah, maybe when we finish, if Baptiste has some time, you can discuss this the Windows installers thing. Okay, so let's proceed with transitive dependencies. Transitive dependencies is when you declare dependency on a plugin. So let's say, I'm not sure, let's say Mailer. So there is plugins Jenkins.io website, and there is Mailer plugin. And Mailer plugin on its own, it depends on a few other plugins. So you may see here, it's this play URL API. It's a required plugin, so it's a transitive dependency. So when you install Mailer plugin, in order to get it working properly, you also need display URL API plugin. And there are also some optional dependencies and implied dependencies. So implied dependency is coming from detached plugins, which we discussed before. So Jenkins just tries to guess that this plugin may depend on some detached plugins, because it cannot really guess whether this code is used or not, because the plugin is built for the old Jenkins core version. And in some cases, there are also optional dependencies, which mean that the plugin has some functionality, which, for example, let's take ownership plugin. So you may see that there is optional dependency. So what does it mean? That, for example, if you install ownership plugin, you don't need job restrictions plugin to be installed. But if it's installed, it should be at least version 0.1, otherwise it may not work. And pretty much the same for folders and for other plugins. So all of that are transitive dependencies.
Okay.
And yeah, when we run the installation, what we want to discover is firstly that transitive dependencies do not collide. So for example, we have two plugins depending on job restrictions, but on different versions. So we want to ensure that the version which is actually installed is firstly compatible with both plugins, or that we at least get a warning or error when the plugin dependencies are misused. So what we do not want is that the plugin dependency just collides and we get all the version which is not compatible with one of the plugins. If you're familiar with Maven, there is a plugin called Maven Enforcer plugin, which actually allows tracking dependencies using upper bound rule.
Okay. And then something something that you said earlier is like I guess one of the reasons why you need kind of both a library and this CLI tool is so you can use to be able to use in like Maven plugin or some. Is that kind of what you're talking about, or is that something different?
Well, Maven plugin is a bit different. So Maven
Okay.
plugin is an example of how to use this plugin manager.
Okay.
So, for example, there is a lot of flows which do packaging inside Maven. In particular, what can be useful is custom words in Maven HPI plugin. Okay. Oh yeah, thanks Google. So yeah, there is a module which actually takes plugin reference in a POM and builds a custom word. So pretty much like custom word packager does, and actually custom word packager uses this step under the hood. And here it gets dependencies from POM XML. And yeah, it might be interesting if you just, once the library is ready, to use this library in this plugin in order to have a custom installation. Or you can just create your own Maven steps, which would install a list of dependencies in a target directory. It may be even more preferable if it's a separate Maven module.
Okay.
So we are slightly out of time for the planned time for the SIG meeting. So I mean, it would be nice, I think, given Alex was able to join to cover the Windows subject maybe, or I can maybe with him later, and then. So Natasha, we can maybe plan something to meet again. So that's going to be hard in next weeks to be able to meet also with Oleg, I suppose, but I can be available at least. So I don't know how Oleg. I don't think you're going to be able to join.
No, actually, next week is more comfortable for me because I will be on vacation.
Right.
So speaking of me, yeah, I can stay online maybe for another hour, so that
Yeah.
yeah, you can have discussion with Alex, and then we can continue with Natasha. Does it work?
Yeah, I think so. So, Alex, I was proposing that we would cover, if you're still there, so the Windows issues, Windows subject.
Sure. Can you guys hear me? I'm trying a new microphone, so I just want to make sure it works.
Great. We hear you. Great.
All right. Excellent. So, so there's a question on the agenda. I do have admin access on the Chocolatey webpage or the Chocolatey package now for Jenkins.
Yeah, let me just real quick get back to maybe sharing my screen so that we record, where we are, what we're talking about, because it would be more obvious for the audience. What the hell did I do?
So you Mr.
Okay,
Jenkins?
that's here.
Okay, I'll
That's
do your present.
That you should be seeing the thing. Okay, right. So that's what I wanted to look at. And so, Alex, you were talking about, I suppose, that one, the request.
Yeah,
now you're owner. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm one of the owners, and I can add anybody else who has but they just need to have a Chocolatey account. So anybody else who needs access, I can add them easily. It's
Great.
better to have more people. So
Yeah, my Chocolatey account is Oleg-Minashov, so same
okay.
as GitHub. At least if I didn't mess up something.
Yeah, I think it would make sense probably to add the infra team, I suppose. Maybe make sure that we add, for instance, Tyler and Olivier, I suppose, would make sense.
Okay.
So yeah, maybe the next steps. I mean, so if you have anything that would be in your mind to cover, let's do that. But if not, then what would be in your mind the next steps? That what's missing right now?
So I emailed Olivier about the build and stuff like that, and he said he had a question about whether we should merge the changes back into the packaging repo. And I'm fine with that if that's the direction. We had talked at one point in this meeting about having a separate repository, but I'm fine either way. So, I guess it's up to what people want.
Yeah, I would prefer to just replace the existing MSI installer for starters.
Okay.
Because having a separate repository is fine when we have separate release flow. But now, for example, we pin the version for LTS releases, and we use packaging commit ID. So it means that if you have a separate repository for Windows packaging, it means that we will need to update the release flows so the proper version is taken.
Yeah, one concern I had with the current setup is that it's based heavily on Sigwin and some things like that, and I don't know what the capabilities of the packaging systems are. So that was a concern about incorporating it back into the original repository. The way I developed it uses PowerShell to script things instead of Bash. So we just need to make sure that whatever system is run on is a Windows packaging node.
Yeah, so I guess the risk that something just gets exploded if something explodes. So if we get an old version, but yeah, I believe that PowerShell is installed by default starting from Windows 7, so that it shouldn't have any issues.
Yeah, it's just the current flow that's used will definitely need to be updated, and that's all within the trusted CI, which I don't have access to.
Yeah.
So so testing, pushing that and testing it, I don't know how that's my concern, right? Is how do we test to make sure that it's all working when I don't know who has access that I can work with directly and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So direct access, Olivier has access, then Daniel Beck and Tyler.
Yeah, but that Olivier designed very recently, as you may know, a VPN access, and I mean, it would be probably acceptable or at least debatable, discussable, to have you access the necessary part of the infrastructure. I mean, you've been there for like ever, like many of us, so I think it would be absolutely acceptable. And Tyler and then the others from the board wouldn't be. I don't think they would be seeing an issue with that. At least to consider this discussion, at least. And also, yeah, given the VPN, it's not as far as I understand as cumbersome as it was before to give access to people.
Okay. So yeah, I can definitely look at merging out back into the existing packaging repo. That's not a problem.
Yeah, In the worst case, we may have issues only in the weekly releases because LTS releases are pinned. So even if we merge a change which surprisingly doesn't work, then probably the weekly release train gets delayed a bit. But it won't cause any massive collateral damage in the ecosystem.
Okay.
But it would be great if we finally merge that.
Yeah, because if we don't, and if we don't soon, like how it goes, then 6 months from now we will just start over or whatever because things move forward. When it's not merged, it kind of gets stale.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So that's really great. I mean, so as far as I understand, if you had access to the trusted infra to kind of finalize things, we would be kind of able to finalize pretty easily a deployment on every given basically publishing the MSI. Correct me if I'm not the right phrasing. Let's say on every weekly or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So I think that's all I had for today. So
great. And that one we already discussed in the end. So that one is kind of moot now.
Yeah,
blah,
so
blah,
we
we
can
still,
just we just don't need another meeting.
exactly.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes about that. Maybe I can, if you want, Alex, I can maybe try to see on your behalf or whatever. You can do yours yourself, but if someone does it, maybe it's even stronger. Ask for your access or something, an infra mailing list or something.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, great. Can do that.
Cool.
Okay.
Great. So I guess we're done.
Mhm.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you guys. See you later.
See you. So we can go back to the JSOC proposal then. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I have a couple other questions. So, um, so I saw that like originally there was this the configuration as code plugin had the ability to install plugins, but that was like later taken out because it required restarts. I was wondering if you could explain that, and is like, would that be a problem, or is that something I need to think about when I come up with my proposal?
Well, your proposal would actually solve the issue. If you take a look at the original ticket, it has been created by Nicola Delov,
Yeah.
who was a maintainer of JCast plugin at that point.
hmm
So the problem of JCast plugin is that it's a Jenkins plugin. So it means that it gets executed when Jenkins starts up and when it loads other plugins. So it's not trivial to just self-manage the thing. So if you have external plugin management tooling, for example, once we have your library, if we could pass YAML file as an input to it, it could replace the functionality we had in JCast plugin. Because we have external tool which takes YAML or whatever, for example, the same Jenkins YAML, then reads configuration, installs that, and that's it. Installs it before plugins really start up, so that there is no this chicken and egg problem.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. And then like in terms of like the CLI tool, I had posted this on like the platform SIG channel, but is is there like a recommendation on if that should be implemented in like Java or Go?
Not strictly. Um, Maybe it would be easier in Java. I'm not sure now. I think on that I should reread the proposal because Evergreen is stable. But Evergreen would be in Node mostly, but still we will be able to call a CLI. What would there be? I'm trying to think what would be in the order of priorities. Custom War Packager is in Java. Evergreen is in Node. Jenkins File Runner is mostly, well, it could be in
Yeah,
Go.
this one is in Go, but generally it's in Java. We have two
Yeah.
versions. Um, speaking of that, we have two things there: is CLI tool and library. So for
Yeah.
CLI tool, it really doesn't matter in which language it's
Yeah.
implemented.
And I would say library is probably the first one, but yeah.
So if you talk about it as a library, if we set a requirement, for example, to be able to include it into the Maven plugins, so it should be at least a language which is JVM based. So for example, it may be Java, it may be Kotlin, it may be Groovy, Clojure, or whatever,
Mhm.
but it has to be running on JVM to do it easily.
Yeah.
If you write it in Go or whatever, it's still possible to include it into the library somehow using various adapters or CLI wrappers. But it will be a bit more complicated.
Yeah, and I would actually recommend something, but that's pretty new, but it might be a good opportunity to look at it. It's actually looking at Quarkus. So because I've actually listened to a podcast yesterday about Quarkus. So Quarkus is a new tool that's being out using Java and basically able to compile to native code, and also designed for function as a service and those things, and also obviously probably applicable to CLI tools. So it might be a good way to actually have the uh, speediness of startup like you have in Go, for instance, with the advantages of not having complicated, convoluted bindings between, say, Go, Node, whatever, to Java, because the library has to be in Java so that the core of Jenkins can actually contribute pretty easily. So it might be also something we want to look at.
Yeah, but yeah, generally it depends on the proposal. So
Yeah.
the proposal may target only CLI tool as one of the options. But yeah, if you talk about library, if you focus on a JVM specific language, it might be easier to implement it. I do not say that it's a blocker if you say that you want to write it in Go. But yeah, in such case, if you want to write it in Go, yeah, think about how you bundle it into the library, and yeah, it could be a good addition to your proposal.
Okay.
What is your
Yeah.
preference?
Wait.
What is your preference with regards to the language?
I don't have any experience in Go, so like I'm open to learning new things, but I honestly don't know that much about it. So, but if it was kind of like one of those things, like if you guys had like, recommendation or preference, like I'm happy to try to like do whatever's best. But yeah, I'm definitely more comfortable in Java.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the core, and if not the most of the code, kind of has to be in Java anyway. So
Yeah.
if you had any way to write, something in Go Node, that's not clear right now. Indeed, that wouldn't be I mean, that will be the most of the code. It would be more like a wrapper code, basically linking things the right way, passing command line parameters to the right library, Java library that would be writing there first. So yeah, the first like the steps would be maybe we want to design write that somewhere, but that's also something in the proposal indeed. Uh, like basically extract the logic of Jenkins core. I see that this way. I don't know, Oleg, what you think, but about dependency management, basically plugin management in an external module inside Jenkins, probably because it's so close to Jenkins that it has probably to live there. Then make sure this is tested, harnessed, blah, blah, so that it's stable. And there's already a lot of tests around that, by the way, right now. And then see if you want to, make an external Java library, Go library, blah blah blah, you name it, that would call it, and offer basically a library in like to kind of a command line usage. So that part about choosing language for library, I would be like, we want to try Quarkus, but because I heard about that's pretty promising, and I think again that part is pretty. I don't think in the logic and the code we use in the dependency management shouldn't be really convoluted. It's pretty, it can be hard in terms of like dependency management, optional dependencies, graph resolution, obviously, but not using a lot of weird loading things, and class loading, Java, blah blah. So probably would be eligible to nice usage of Quarkus, basically having the advantages of Go without convoluted bindings, as I already said.
Yeah, but it would be interesting if you could edit somewhere side notes.
Okay.
Yeah, I already pinged Natasha on the chat about the name of the website, but I can add some thoughts about that indeed. Yeah, please just, if you were there, let me see. I opened that somewhere. It's here. I am on the page.
Oh,
Do that.
mhm.
Maybe I'd add something at the bottom. IDs. Let me see. No, because implementation details. IDs like uh, because it's not something required, but more like hints. Um,
Okay.
Anyway, so I will do that later because I have to drop very soon. But I'm going to add an action item for me to do that at least. Let's
Mhm.
say I don't know, maybe later today. I'm not really sure, but maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, right. So yeah, probably we could go back to the proposal. If I understand correctly, a proposal is just a draft. So deliverables, benefits to the community, and
Yeah.
related work, they still yet to be designed.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I think I'll probably I guess like change some of that based off of the discussions yesterday on office hours with like who this the intended audience is, because it seems like it's mostly going to be like Jenkins who kind of determines whether, I guess, like which proposals are accepted and which ones aren't. And I'd also seen like obviously I didn't want to like, just copy and paste from like the original like project website, but I guess I was like trying to explain things for like if, for example, like Google was reviewing these and had like no background on the actual project. But yeah, I've seen a lot of other proposals that are like kind of more focused on like that and getting more into the details of like the, I guess, like the technical details and stuff like that. So yeah, I can I'll like after this conversation I can like start focusing on that. I just had a lot of questions first, and then so in terms of, I guess, like the actual like deliverables, then I would split this into the two sections then. So basically the library and then like the CLI tool, and then in terms of just like priority, like I guess so the library would have to be then implemented first so that the CLI tool could use that, or is like, so kind of starting to come up with like the timelines, I guess, like what and like what I should focus on first. What does that look like?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that, sorry.
No. Go on.
Yeah, I think that library and tool should be actually developed in parallel.
Okay.
Because yeah, you will still need whatever dummy CLI to test how the library behaves. So it makes sense to create a skeleton which would include both CLI tool and library, and then continue expanding them in parallel. But yeah, in such case, it makes sense to keep in mind that this CLI tool is just a draft and that you don't commit to any kind of compatibility there. And yeah, at later stages of the proposal, you may reconsider and create completely another tool if we decide it's appropriate.
Yeah, I would recommend. I don't know how much you've played with it or you know about that, Natasha, but I don't know if you ever use Jenkins, install a plugin through the UI, and see what it triggers basically, because it would probably give you a better understanding of what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And also maybe play with the Docker packaging, like writing a plugins.txt thing, and build and Docker build it and see what it does, and so compare that, because I think it will be helping you probably to get a build kind of a brain picture of what you're going to achieve, trying to achieve, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I do so, and I have a question about that too. So for like the custom war packager, there were some demos and I didn't know how to get those working. So so like I guess like so like in the example, you have this like jar file that you run. So I'm sorry, this is a really basic question, but like how do I generate this jar file and run that? So I was able, I think, to do it through IntelliJ, but is there like a way to do this at the commands line, or like I wasn't sure like how to get that working.
yeah, you need to configure Maven basically, so
Okay.
Apache Maven, and then things should be going pretty more easily.
Okay.
But maybe Oleg, you're going to show that part, or
Yeah, right. I just wanted to show you an example. So
Yeah.
effectively, it's really a similar structure because yeah, it has
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that.
library CLI.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here it's implemented just as a multi-model Maven project. So as long as you follow the same structure, IntelliJ IDEA should be able to read that and to launch it properly.
Yeah.
So here you may see that actually we use Jenkins parent form. So there is not that, yeah, there are some configurations here, but not a lot. And yeah, the most of the logic is actually implemented by parent form. So CLI is really simple because CLI just invokes the library. So here you may see that there are just two classes, I believe, or something like that. So
Yeah, I
CLI
definitely looked
options,
at that.
yeah. So yeah, it's a really lightweight CLI. Here we use whatever framework. Yeah, it's Arc4G in order to pass CLI parameters, and then in main we just pass it to the library. So the most of the complexity is actually on the library level, and library is just a common Java application. So yeah, it may be a bit complex, but yeah, it's just whatever Java jar file which is being produced by Maven compiler. It uses parent form. So here you don't see any specific logic to build that. We just declare the dependencies on what we need to include. And that's it.
Okay. Okay.
And yeah, your one first is if not the case yet, you want to make sure to configure Maven. So, did you already configure Apache Maven on your command line? That tool that.
I mean, I've installed it. I'm not
But then,
sure if you have other configurations in mind.
not really. I mean, if it should be, I don't know if Oleg is going to show that, but basically, if you're going in a directory where there's a pub, basically typing mvn, for instance, clean verify should basically build everything and run everything.
Okay.
And if not,
Okay.
there's something wrong that you need to fix first.
Yeah, right. So
Okay.
one of the guidelines which may be useful for you, it's plugin guide. So if
Yeah.
you use standard Jenkins parent form, you need to configure your environment by following these guidelines so that all parent repositories are set properly. Because yeah, otherwise, well, custom word package defines dependencies internally, so it will be able to build anyway, but it doesn't apply to all plugins. So if something goes wrong with the downloads, maybe you want to configure settings XML in this way. So here you may see that there are some repositories, mirrors, and we just injected into Maven settings XML. And after that, as Batista said, building is just Maven clean
Gotcha.
package.
Okay. I'm gonna try that.
So yeah, I assume that it works on my machine, though I cannot guarantee for sure because it's Windows 1 and I had some issues.
Yeah.
And I also have disabled Docker, so if some tests are executed, they won't really pass.
So because Natasha, you're on what platform? What OS?
Mac OS.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it should be fine.
Yeah.
Custom word packager has been developed on Mac.
Did you configure or did you install Docker for Mac, Natasha?
The which one?
Docker for Mac. If not, I think you will need it.
Yes. Yeah, I have. So I think I have all the tools.
Yeah, you just learn now.
Don't know how to use them.
Right,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
That's fine.
Okay, so yeah, I just tried to run this, and I got a could not resolve dependencies for project with this Maven clean.
So just
yeah.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to need to drop. But I want maybe to make something. But I guess Oleg is going to help you a bit more, maybe. But anyway, so I want to also remind you that please don't hesitate to ask questions through email or the chat. Because for instance, if you just try to like people who do on the users mailing list, like, okay, I did that and I reached that point and it's failing at that point, I don't understand, what should I do? Because it will be easier to help you move forward. Just not saying I have no idea how to do that, we won't be able to really help you. If you say I try to do this, I stop at that stage because I don't understand, that we will be able to get you past for these steps.
Right.
If we do go through that cycle, asynchronously plus live synchronization like we're doing right now, from time to time, then I guess it would be more effective for
Yeah,
Yes.
that makes sense. I'm not afraid to reach out. I just this was helpful for me to just like talk over things in
Sure.
person.
Yeah, yeah.
So um
Yeah,
yeah.
that's why I'm really talking about asynchronously and synchronously, because sometimes it can be helpful to have things like, okay, I want an answer about that, but there's no urgency, so that's fine. I'm going to move forward on the other side of it, and then when we get an answer, I will unblock me for something else, and then get back, and then have a live chat to like understand better the deepness of things. So yeah, both things are useful, but yeah, I think you really want to indeed use both tools, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay,
bye
thanks.
bye. And so yeah, I will make sure to prioritize your emails
Okay.
more than the others I get, and that will be it.
Thank you.
See you. Bye.
All
Yeah.
right, bye.
Cheers.
Yeah. Thank you. So,
Um, Oleg, do you want to keep talking or do you have other stuff you need to do or
well, I always have some stuff to do, but yeah, if you have any questions left, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay. So
Yeah, I'm
see,
just
I don't know if
building
I
the
should
room.
try to troubleshoot this. Do you mind if I just like share my screen?
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine.
Okay. So, um, okay. So this is, I guess like, I don't know. Let me see if I can. It's okay. Can you see that? So this is what I had done like so far to try to get this working. So I had just like downloaded this like this custom war package manager. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I wonder. I actually might have changed some stuff because I originally I was getting a different error, but so I don't remember, but so basically if I go into this and then go into the custom war packager manager CLI, this is like basically where I should run this like Maven clean command. Is that
No, you
right?
should be running it on the top level.
On this,
So,
so go up like
yeah,
at this level. Okay.
yeah, because it's a multi-model project, and if you just run one model, it won't be able to pick dependencies from the reactor.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. And then okay, this sounds good. So and then just in terms of like uh development environment then so like what do you usually use or recommend? Like so I guess like NetBeans comes I like so I did read through the plugin tutorial, although I might relook at it now that I have like a little bit more context as I've like started reading more. So I saw that they have like you can create like plugins or like there's like an actual easier way to I guess like create those like Maven plugins, but I don't know if you have like any other recommendations on like or setup I should do for just like if I should use like NetBeans or IntelliJ or I don't know if you have any like feedback on that. Okay, so this looks like it worked. Um, and then so does it just like puts these jars in does it just put these in this like out folder? Oh, oop, okay. So and is this is the jar that I want?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
packager CLI should be using. So yeah,
Okay.
then you can just switch to any demo and yeah.
Okay. Um, And then to run this, I would just do I have to set it in demo mode first.
Yeah, well, it's one of the easy options to do that. Another option is to
Okay.
just open whatever demo you have in demo folder. But
Okay.
the project still has embedded demo. So yeah, it's a part of CI flow, so I believe that it passes. But yeah,
Okay.
I haven't used it for a while.
Okay. And then for so that's just going into the demo folder.
Yeah.
And
So,
then
here, well, you can build this one, or you can just build cask demo, because cask is fixed. So yeah, it's maybe better to even use cask for starters. Our latest core needs a significant update because we added new features to customer packager, so it can be rewritten in a better way. So usually it's make run or make build run. But yeah. So yeah, it will just package everything.
Okay.
I believe you have a good connection speed, so it shouldn't take long.
Okay. All right, cool. Let's see. I think that is most of my question. I guess this was just like a minor question. So like in like it seems like there's okay, so in this the CLI options, so if I go to this one, why do you have to have all of these like annotations, or like what is the benefit of that?
So annotation just allows the code to automatically generate a command line interface. So if you just invoke CLI and enter -- help, you will get output of all available options with documentation. And this annotation is a way to provide that and to have a binding.
Okay.
So here there is not much value because, well, the most of option names are being parsed automatically anyway. But for example, you can also add short handles and other things if needed. So annotation is just a way to pass this metadata for args4j library.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I think that's like most of my questions for now. So I'll work on updating my proposal and then I'll post it to the mailing list. And I thought that you had said that it wasn't in comment mode, which I thought that it was, so I'll double check that and change that if I need to.
Right, so your build failed because Docker is not running on your machine, I believe.
Okay, so I need to actually I need to run it first,
Yeah,
or
so this particular demo uses Docker. So it means taking your command Docker is actually installed on your machine, but Docker for Mac isn't running right now. So that's why it fails. Some require Docker, some demos do not require Docker, but yeah.
Okay, and then to I guess just start running that. So I just need to choose like some container and then like run this that jar file like on that. Is that
not exactly, because yeah, here it will. So make file already includes that. So make file includes invocation of the jar file internally.
Okay.
So here you will be able to just run the demo, but you may see that there is already some execution by customer packager. So it was customer packager which was driving all this build flow.
Okay. Okay. So I'm sorry, this is probably also a dumb question. So how do I actually start running Docker then so I can run this?
Sorry, was it a question?
Oh, yeah. So if I don't want this to fail, like
Yeah,
how do I, yeah.
Yeah, firstly, you just run Docker on your machine.
Okay.
No, Docker is installed as CLI tool, but you need to start Docker for Mac. So you can just find a Docker application and click on it. Yeah, this
Okay.
one. You
I'll
can
just skip
just
this
skip
for
this
now.
version.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you should see Docker starting up in the status bar.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if everything is configured properly, it should be able to actually get execution running in Docker.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I
Docker is
see.
starting. Once it switches to the running state, you can just repeat the previous command.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
Now you can just
Yeah.
repeat it. Okay, so what do you see? Full access denied. What? Docker run. Please run make build. Due to whatever reason, yeah, maybe the demo is corrupted. I'm not sure. Yeah, I believe that the cache is wrong due to whatever reason. So it executed a Docker build. It failed to execute the build because there was no image. But yeah, now it fails because just a second I'm looking at the demo.
Okay.
Yeah, so something really went wrong due to the Docker, I believe. Yeah, actually no. No, yeah. So due to whatever reason, customer packager didn't package it properly. So just run make clean build, and yeah, I believe that it should resolve the issue. Yeah, so unfortunately, there is no good way to so maybe the step didn't cache Docker properly. But yeah, it shouldn't take long because
Okay.
yeah, it already builds the Docker image. So now it downloads all layers because yeah, we actually include dependency on Docker. Yeah. So yeah, the images are heavy sometimes, but yeah, it's almost done. Yeah, so okay. Okay, so now you just run make run, and if everything is correct, it will run.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is an image packaged by customer packager. And yeah, once you see the message that everything is running, you can just navigate to localhost 8080 in your browser, and you should be able to see the Jenkins web interface. Admin, I believe.
Yeah. I'd say I. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, you're in. You may see that there is status message customer package demo of configuration as code plugin.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have an error screen, so that the layout is pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the image started. It has been produced by customer packager, and if you go to manage Jenkins on the left panel,
Mm-hmm.
then you can click in the manage plugins in the bottom. Yeah, manage plugins. It's a green puzzle piece just up.
Oh, yep. There you go.
Okay. So if you click on the installed tab,
Mm-hmm.
you may see that there were some plugins installed
Mm-hmm.
from the definition, but yeah, you may see that the list isn't that long here because it's just a demo.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Cool. Well, okay, this helps me get started. I can like kind of go through the rest of the demos and stuff. So, I think that's most of my questions for now. So I don't have anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, so if you don't have any other questions, yeah, maybe we could sync up again next week. But yeah, generally,
Okay.
if you have any questions, just ask in the chat or in the mailing list,
Okay.
so that we can sync up there.
Yeah, that sounds good. All
Okay.
right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you too, and yeah, have a nice day.
Yeah.
Okay.